No joke. We're legitimate.
Fucking do this? Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
And good evening. Welcome to episode 38 of The Coaches Show. I'm Mike Bianca, coach of the New Orleans Hurricanes. With me, as always, is my friend and co-host Ryan Gray, coach of AC Diesel. Tonight, we're going to do what we love to do, right? We love to do this. We're going to break down a game. That game will be the semifinal match between Red Legion and Edmonton Impact from the recent Mid-Atlantic Major. Both teams went undefeated and won their preliminary brackets, and both teams mercy ruled their opponents in the quarterfinals to get into the semifinal match. Now, Impact mercied Infamous 6-0, and Red Legion mercied Tampa Bay Damage 7-1. Out of all the teams this event, these two just seemed to understand the layout the best and were just executing in spectacular fashion. We really did have a finals match here in the semifinals. It was a clash of titans, and this match did not disappoint. We will get into that in just a moment. But first, tonight's episode is brought to you by Maxed Sportswear. For all your custom paintball goods, get Maxed. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. New Coaches Show apparel coming soon. It is fire. Check it out. I can't wait for you guys to see it. New content is being added regularly, and you don't want to miss the additions Ryan and I are making to the coaches section on BKI. So links to the sign up for the upcoming coaches clinics are live on PB Leagues and in the description of the show. So we need to talk. Let's talk about that a little bit. You want to talk about the Chicago Clinic and the Drew Clinic?
Yeah, so let's start with the Drew Clinic, because I've had this question now has been asked several times. We understand kind of with the timing of things with Nations Cup going on and teams scheduling practices and those kind of things. We're hoping to start by 5, but it could be 6 o'clock before we actually get started. So that's 17 or 1800. Our expectation too is that this clinic is going to take longer than 2 hours, which is the normal clinic length, because we know we're going to have to slow down a little bit. There's going to be some language barrier stuff. We get it, right? So Mike and I, we do this because we love it and we want you to get the information. So we're not, it's not about like, hey, this is a 2-hour thing and we're going to start at this time and end at this time. It's pretty fluid, and we want to make sure that you get the information you want. Also, we don't have any responsibilities the next day, so we're going to be at your disposal for the evening, and so we want to make sure you get everything you want. So, really excited about that. Touch on the BKI things really quick. So, all of the resources that you guys have seen us posting on our social medias, I'm going to start breaking all of that stuff down and explaining how to use it at practice and what are the things you're looking for. What are the things that you need to be documenting and why, so that you have things like average game time with different plays. I'm also going to break down, like if you're a Division 4 team, here's the things you need to be looking for, Division 3, Division 2, so on and so forth. And I'm going to do that with all of the resources kind of we put out. I also have some stuff from Skinny Kevin that I'm going to try to get some information from him, and then we'll get into that as well. He's got actually a line organizer that I think is really interesting, and I'm going to get that out to you guys over the next couple of days. I'll get that posted in our social media, and I'll tag him. That way, if you guys have questions, you can just connect with Skinny Kevin, and he'll answer those questions. All right, back to the game. So I've gotten to watch this game several times, and I'm so excited we're doing this one for 2 reasons. One, on day 1 of the event, I thought Impact was playing better than anyone else. Watching what they were doing, how quickly they changed their tempo, right? Like we're used to seeing an Impact that is slow, methodical, very controlled, well-oiled, if you will, in kind of the mid-game. what we got to see is a little bit of a more ballistic, certainly taking much more risk off the break impact, and it paid dividends, right? Yes. You mentioned it at the beginning of the show in the introduction. Both of these teams won their bracket or won their pools, winning all 4 games, then go on to the next to Sunday in their first match and mercy rule both the teams that they're playing. So I really felt like this, and I don't know how they ended up on the same side of the bracket. I'm going to need somebody to explain that to me. Yeah. If you're in the chat and you can explain to me how Impact and Russian Legion ended up on the same side of the bracket, I can't figure it out. I believe they were 1st and 2nd seed, so I don't get it. I don't understand how they ended up together. But this, to me, and this is not a slight at Aftershock, because I think they played really, really well, took down Dynasty. I mean, I just felt like this match was the best match I saw all weekend. So I'm really happy we're going to break it down. Let's get into a couple of technical things really quick. So this is the layout, just as a refresher to you guys who've been playing other events. I know USXBL was this week, and by the way, congratulations to all the teams that won there. Looked like a fantastic tournament down at San Antonio X Factor. So let's see. Christian says they guarantee the 1 and 2 overseas draw the wildcard teams, but that's it. Yeah. So
I think you have to see his comment before that.
I believe
was there a comment he made before that?
Random draw for each of the so 1 and 2 are supposed to get pulled out first and be on each side of the bracket. That's where I'm confused, Christian. The 1 and 2 should get pulled out, and then the bottom teams are the one the top 2 and the bottom 2, that's what they are, right? And then they draw kind of the rest of it. At least that's how it used to be. So anyway, it's just kind of interesting how they got in there. But nonetheless, if you know how they ended up on the same side, like know for fact, and you can see it in the rules, please let us know. Anyway, let's get into the technical stuff a little bit. So I want to talk about the setup you're going to see quite a bit. And this was kind of the standard setup we sort of saw all weekend, where you had the player coming up to this, shooting this, or the safety outside of it, which I'll put up in a second. I mean, you can even, if you want, we can go over a little bit more just like this, right? And then you had the back center kind of shooting this guy going in. And then there were 2 options here. You had this guy kind of standing in the blind or going up and shooting at this can. Now, sometimes you'll see a guy out here in the blind. That's neither one of these teams, I think, did that. But if you go back and watch film, you'll see that some. This guy kind of gets in, goes heads up right away. And Karslev, who is amazing with his gun and using it as a bunker, certainly off the break, you'll notice he's running out here and he's shooting right back into the center as he goes around. We'll point this out, too, in a couple of points. We'll show you guys. He goes really deep. Really deep. I mean, he's basically 2 feet in from the back line, goes almost out of bounds on the side, and then is coming up into the Dorito 2 or Dorito 3. Where this ended up kind of getting him a couple of times, certainly in the first few points, and we'll show you guys that in a second, is he gets caught between the 1 and the 2, Dorito 1 and Dorito 2, from this cross. This guy has a big opening there. He's got the first one, and then he's got a big one right there.
And Impact uses this quite well.
Yeah, so Mikey Arena was a monster on this shot. He was a monster. So this is kind of the setup that you're going to see quite a bit. Now, keep in mind, both of these teams do a great job moving their guns around a little bit off the break. What you're not going to see is how those little changes that they'll make, because maybe if he's shooting this shallow the next time, when I say moving his gun, maybe now he's shooting it 5-6 feet deeper, right? That little change makes a huge difference. So
or one other change from the home bunker. From the home bunker, instead of shooting inside of that Aztec, you would shoot that cut between the wedge and the Aztec.
Yeah.
Right. Just making that one shift because right there. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, just little micro adjustments like that can really change, for lack of a better term, the impact on your lanes. So.
Yeah. I think probably a lot of guys were shooting both of these,
probably.
Both of these right here. This is really the shot I was talking. I
right.
was talking about
that's
earlier.
A blind. Yep.
Yeah. It's not that one. It's this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. Yeah. I think that's where, that's where everybody's shooting. It's not inside of this Mayan. It's this one. Right.
Right.
So again, that's the setup you guys are going to see quite a bit. But again, they're really good at making minor adjustments to where their guns are. If a guy's a little bit lower, a little bit higher, running a little bit deeper. And again, with Karslev, we'll show you in a second. It's not a little bit deeper. It's really, really deep. It's really deep. The other thing I want to mention here is how good both of these teams are off the break. Impact, there are points where you're going to see Impact shoots 2 off the break. Loses 2 off the break. Now risks a body a lot of times doing it, but still ends up a body up. Pays dividends early, has a little bit of challenges later with it. Again, the Red Legion were just unbelievably good. So, all weekend, right? They won 2 tournaments in the same weekend. I don't know that any other team's ever done that, right?
And to your point, though, Impact used that pocket shooter effectively, and it was such a great back and forth match. It really was. Counterpunch. And what you're really going to see is how both teams, what I found also fascinating is the first point. One thing you're going to notice as the points go on, they steadily get faster. It was like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, minute and a half, minute. I mean, it's fascinating to watch how the teams basically understand pace, understand clock, understand certain impacts from certain positions, right? When you start and making certain reads, and we'll talk about all of that here shortly. But I just wanted to make a comment about that because it was really the intricacy of that aspect of the match, right? That really changed a lot of different things, little dynamics.
Yeah, it was again masterfully coached, masterfully played. I felt like the referees allowed the guys some space to play. There is a couple of points where a guy runs through, gets shot, dives into the first spot. No minor was called, which I was so happy to see. And if you've been listening to the show the last couple of weeks, you probably heard me complaining a little bit about that. But again, as the game gets faster, right? I mean, it's just something, we've got to hold each other accountable. As the game gets faster, the referees are going to have to get better, right? And when I say better, it's not about making the right call as much as it is slow down. Maybe there is no call, right? Maybe give the guys a little space, right? Give them guys a little opportunity.
It's just like a professional paintball player making the appropriate in-game read, right? He sees something happen, he immediately makes the read, and he's able to. The professional refs, I think that's what you're stating. You're saying, hey, we'll be able to see this and then recognize it and understand what to do. So
yeah, because I do think they're really good, right? But they're also, I think they're used to watching the games. And this is not a shot at you guys, but a Hurricane more slower, especially on Sunday, a slower, more controlled, methodical style of play than what we're getting now, right? With the way the layouts are, it's just a little bit more ballistic. There's a lot more risk off the break. And with guys, the bunkers are so close together now, and the guys are, they're 6 feet apart. When they go into that brick, they're 3 feet apart. Like, a lot's happening in a very quick period of time. Like, take a breath, make sure you're doing the right thing, because maybe there's no call to be made. Like, maybe just let them play.
It's a great message, and it's a great thing. And that's something. That's why I'm looking forward to having. We do plan on doing a show where we're having the refs on, the professional refs on. We're going to let you get their side of the story. I have a lot of questions for them. I want to know, do they watch tape? Right. I mean, I've got so many questions I want to talk to them about the training methodology and et cetera. And I'm really fascinated by that, but I'll shut up now. All right.
Yeah, no, please don't. Yeah. So we'll jump into the match here. Again, this is going to be a little bit different, I think, than what we've done in the past, just because there are some spaces. I'll stop it and where Mike and I can kind of talk through it a little bit. I know in the past, as we've done some of these breakdowns, it's more just been a little more commentary over the film. And a lot of that has to do with our regular jobs and not having as much time to dissect. I got a lot more time to dissect today. Mike is super smart, so he'll be able to free flow this thing.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting, this very first point, that Impact takes the bigger risk on the break, spreading both corners, and appears to win the break, shooting the Dorito side can on it. It's interesting. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so this is kind of a variation of the setup we just talked about, where he's going up, right? So you have a guy in the blind. You have this player in the blind, right, Sergey? And then you have Karslev going up, and both of them, one shooting here and the other one shooting the outside. Also this shooting the outside, right? So right off the bat, you get a little variation. And then, of course, J-Rab's going right through that cut.
Right. Now, I didn't have the amount of time to study as you did today, but they do lose their snake corner on first engagement, I think, though. Impact does, correct?
I think he got shot off the break. So they were 4-on-4 here, I believe, off the break.
So you and I chatted about this a little bit earlier on, and as you can see, Malloy's already, in that 50 snake, right? And now Urina's starting to bounce. Vanderbilt's making it. My question for you is this, and those of you in the comment section, feel free to call Coach out on this. That's me. What I found interesting is, who does Impact have eyes on the gap that feeds the snake? On this play, one of the things, and this is just me, this is a coaching preference, that Aztec that feeds the wedge, in my opinion, was the best eyes on seeing that flash through into the snake. Now, in this case, it looks like Impact uses Home, but I'm not sure Home has the best eyes on that thing. He might see a body go through, but he doesn't know where the body went specifically. So I was just curious about that seemed to be a little, which actually didn't hurt them, obviously, because very similar to the Legion, right? They had a kind of a choreographed, hey, we're going to get here, apply pressure here, and if it works out, great. I don't know. Derulo gets into that Aztec behind Urina and starts pumping the outside of the 50 snake brick, which is that control. Velez plays this tower well, but how he gets out of it and into that Aztec there with Malloy there, I don't know how he did that. He's either incredibly impressive. Yeah, I know. It's either super impressive or lucky. I doubt it's lucky, but this is why I question the eyes on the snake, by the way. Does Velez make that bump if he knows the 50 is hot?
Well, and right? I do want to say,
that's my
too,
question.
This, if he's low, this blocks out a lot of Malloy's shot. And Malloy's not a tall guy.
And Malloy's not tall. But I found this because, Legion really shows how well they knew the layout at this point, because if you watch Karslev, right, he sneaks out from that center Dorito side Aztec into the Dorito. No one can see that. And I believe he ends up catching Vanderbilt, doesn't he?
Dalton's he's already gone. And you can see Karslev there with his pack off. He was upset, thought he got called out on something you should.
Well, if you back it up, can you back it up to the point where Karslev leaves that Aztec and then bumps out?
Yeah. Right. Well, he's
a little bit further. And I might have caused a big issue here. So actually, you're almost right to that point. So Karslev was in that Aztec there. He bumps over to the Dorito 2. Now watch from this angle. His first engagement, when the camera angle's behind him, I think this is what he gets called on. I think he gets shot on this inside cut. And then when he bumped to Dorito 3, they found the hit. That's just from what I remember seeing real quick. Let's see if it pulls it up. I can't remember if it's here or later, but.
Well, and Mikey and Derula did a great job here, keeping track 100%. Like whose guns, which way. Derula goes inside, Mikey switches. They did a great job here.
Well, J-Rab almost pulls this off, but to your point, Urena and Velez, they close out smart. Kind of a hard bounce there.
Yeah, and what you're seeing now, so it's
and dealing.
Yeah, 3-on-2. And Rob Velez is still out in Dorito 3. So Mikey knows he's got a lot of space to work with here. They've got him trapped into the middle of the field. He knows he's got a lot of space.
Yeah, with Velez being that wide, right? Urena has the ball. As long as the other two outside players keeps them, Derula and Velez keeps them honest. So, yeah, and of course, once the minute Kirill drops, right, they're just gonna drop the hammer. It's interesting to me. This is a smart close here. They piece it together. They take the time. They figure it out. They know that it's a 3-on-2 at this point. I feel like, right, because maybe, but Derula's in there making sure no one's spreading, right? Now he's starting to realize, hey. And then J-Rab makes a great shot right there, boom, and then gets caught right there on the elbow by Urena on the move. Very good.
Mikey was 3-minute 40.
He was 3-minute 46-second point, and Impact takes the first point. It from here on, it just gets faster. But I did like that Karslev move. That just shows a knowledge of the layout.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was like Karslev didn't. I didn't feel like he forced anything except for maybe that move from the 1 to the 3. That space there. He probably should have held up, but that's just not the way they play. It's just not. It's not how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I have a theory on that, but I want to see some more points before I say this publicly and embarrass myself. So it's just an educated guess. But this second point's interesting to me. It's the roles here are reversed, with Legion saying, "Hey, we can go wide too," but they obviously didn't want to be outdone. So they don't just go wide, they go far.
Well,
Karslev.
Totally. And here's what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Watch his route here and see how close he is even right now to this back line, right? His route is deep.
Yes. And I'm fascinated because it's not just Karslev. Malloy also, they both round their corners on the Snake and Dorito side. Bam. Right? So within the first 5 seconds, you have two players at the 40. And on this layout, that was significant. And then what's really funny to me, Legion, they get 3 guns up in the center. It pays off. Impact goes pocket with the delay D side. Loses Dorito can. You'll notice the Snake side Aztec took a bounce too, I think, because it looks like he checks himself. What we saw time and time again throughout the weekend from Legion and throughout this event really was containment didn't seem to concern them. It wasn't a concern of Legion's, right? It almost appeared, and this is that theory I was getting at. It almost appeared that their choreographed plays were intended to put players in position to apply pressure on very specific high probability bunkers and then go from there, right?
Totally.
Man, did it work. So, man, did it work. Sergey acts as a force multiplier here since Karslev's drawn the gun wide. With Malloy and the Snake drawing a gun, Kirill's able to hunt as well. J-Rab is Overwatch in case things go south. I also like this about J-Rab. See, there's Sergey and Karslev now, right? Malloy, now there's Kirill hunting. What I love about this is J-Rab never lets that tandem line get too long between him and his ones. They have 4 across the 50, in 45 seconds of the point?
Yes. Yeah.
Great execution, great answer by Legion. This was a 2-minute point, tied ball game.
And Kirill did a great job there using all the space around him and all the bunkers around him to what we would call it in the Woods days, was tree walking, right? He used all those bunkers around him, put them between him and the other players who were alive, and only put himself in space where he only had to play one guy, right? Now, again, it's 5-on-2, right? It's 5-on-2. But again, nobody went running down the field to try to bunker somebody, potentially get a penalty. It was really intelligent the way Kirill did that. And we say this all the time, and I'll continue to say it till it's not true. If you want to know how to play the middle of the field, watch Kirill.
I concur. And what's great about that is the rest of it, his teammates know. They know, hey, Kirill, you have the ball, right? And he just makes it happen. I take that back about the containment. I think on the close, right? I think on the close, their containment's outstanding.
Yeah, very good. Well, I
don't think the first 10 to 15 seconds or 30 seconds of a match, they could care less about containment. I think it was, hey, we're going to do what we want to do. We don't care what you do. So at least it feels that way.
Yeah. So here kind of Impact sort of goes back to their kind of bread and butter, shoots a couple guys off the break. And again, risks a body. I apologize that keeps going down. I'm trying to press the space bar to start the video, and it apparently brings the video down.
Yeah. Impact puts 2 guns Snake way and 3 guns Dorito way this time.
Again, cost them a guy, but they shoot 2.
That's right. And I'll take that trade all day. This is the issue like the Hurricanes had, right? One thing I notice here is counting the bodies as they leave, right? This goes back to what I said earlier about having good eye snake way. For instance, as we get into this point, it's like I think it's already a 3-on-2 right now, right? And it's advantage.
It's 3. Yeah, I think it's 3-on-3, right? Or 4-on-3.
Maybe it's 4-on-2 according to the thing up there. But
oh yeah, there's cards
see,
left.
And here's why I feel like I feel like because he's looking cross field right now. He doesn't know he's looking for a spread or trying to stop any type of progress Dorito way or center way. And so this tells me, hey, we don't have the count right. And that happened to so many teams. We were guilty of it. I'm not saying, finding those bodies was a bit of a pooch on this field. Rabikov must have been slinging some serious paint from the home at the Dorito side players, because Dorito's not advancing at this point. Again, I don't think Impact has the kill count here. Again, difficult to track bodies if you weren't in position. Matter of fact, I think I made a note here. It says Rich Telford takes a line from my book during this point. But anyway, great close there at the end. But, it was a 4-on-2. That's what it was, a 4-on-2. Rabikov is just standing tall, wheeling and dealing over Malloy. But once he drops, then they're just going to drop the hammer, and there it goes. And by the way, points are getting a little faster now as this one went a minute and a half. So we had a 3:20 something. We had a 2, and now we have a minute and a half. Impact up 2-1.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this for a second too, because you'll see Mikey, and again, because he knows he's got 2 guys outside of him, and I think this is where they fix the count. He knows he's got a lot of freedom over the top. So he now starts to be able to play back at J-Rab and not allow J-Rab to stand up over the top.
Boom.
Yeah, that's where he shoots him right there.
Yep.
I really wish we had the overhead cam view. Hopefully we can get that soon.
Yep. So again, Impact just looking good here.
Yeah. Yeah, both, right? It's not like there's a lot of mistakes being made. It's just they're both shooting really well off the break. And the team this was and when you guys see the ESPN show, which is down in the description of the show, when you guys get to watch the ESPN show, you'll notice every point, I believe, but 2 are won from the same side of the field. And it got really windy, and that's happening right now. So you'll notice that the wind is having some it's giving some help to the team on one side of the field. And if you guys can already figure out which side that is, you're doing good, right?
Yeah.
And as this goes on, you'll see it even more clearly, right?
Does anyone want to take some stab in the comments?
Yeah, the team on that side shot 2 guys off the break again. The team on that side shot 2 guys off the break again. How about that?
What I love about this 4th point is this really shows the diversity here of the play call, right? Impact goes hyper aggressive. And this point, it looked good, right? Impact goes hyper aggressive and it looks good. Good guns off the break, crisp secondary moves with no hesitation. I feel like this 4th point, it felt like Impact. You could tell they had a goal, right? They had a goal on this point, or at least a plan of pressing that Dorito side, and it starts off really well. So,
yeah, and they get the unfortunate thing that happens from time to time.
Let's watch this develop real quick because you'll see this again. So Impact is on your left.
Yeah, and I wanted to note here too, this is that variation we were kind of talking about, where now you have the home shooting this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Home is now shooting that. He's shooting this. He's running and shooting back into the center of the field. He's shooting cross.
He's shooting the cross.
And he's shooting heads up right here.
Right. So I think at this point, it's a 4-on-3.
It's 5
it's
on,
a 4-on-3, and they're going to trade here in the snake, right? Yeah, it's 4-on-3. They're going to trade here in the snake, right here. Bam. So 3-on-2, and Impact is in position. This is awesome, except for at the bottom of your screen there, you saw number 3 crawling. I don't know if it was Justin Cornell or Zach Yakimak, but right about there goes up the penalty. And so you went from a 3-on-2 to a 1-on-2 Legion favor. Wow. Great close from J-Rab here, by the way. Finds the body, because this is smart by Impact. Hey, man, we're up a point. I don't have to do nothing. Keep my head on a swivel.
Yeah, Nick
See
did
the
this
wind
correctly.
kind of blowing. Yep, he did. I think he did as well. So this is Nick Laval.
Yes.
When once J-Rab finds the body, and I think the reason it finds is I think Nick ends up eventually saying, "Hey, I need to know the situation. I'm going to pop the top here, take a look," and I think Sergey picks him up. Yep, right there. So now J-Rab knows. Sergey goes to match, and this is well done by J-Rab here as he uses the angle. Boom.
Yeah, and J-Rab ends up being the only player alive at the end of that point.
You sure Sergey wasn't with him?
Yeah, Nick shot Sergey.
Okay. Well, tied ball game with 6:13 left on the clock. Again, a little bit faster. 1:15 that time. The last one was 1.5 minutes. This is a 1:15. Impact probably wants that one back after watching a little bit of tape. I would have liked to have known what the penalty, because we don't get to see it. We just see the flag go up. We see him crawling in the snake, and then we see a flag go up. So I don't know if it was a pack hit or something, and he didn't know about it, but I agree, mark the PB.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed, man. We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
And it would certainly make our jobs easier. So 0.5. I feel like perhaps this is a broken play by Legion, or at least a portion of a broken play, because I feel like they did not intend to double that can. Yeah, right there. I don't feel like they intended to double that can on the Dorito side. Impact using that pocket shooter again. He does the dance and he makes it clean into that center tower. Overwatch there, just pounding the outside of that snake 50.
Yeah, and Karslev died really fast out of that can. You
Yep.
can't see it, but he died really quickly out of that can. And Sergey dies.
And then J-Rab swings to the home. I think thinking, okay, yeah, I need to spread it. And then he realizes, no, they have the snake. I can't do it. We might as well be a force multiplier. And I think he comes back to the snake. Yep, there he goes. He comes to the snake side again. And he realizes he's in a good spot to maybe contain, But then once Kirill died, yeah, now we're in a bad spot.
I love that. Malloy, everything's falling apart, and he's like, I'm going to go hunt.
I'm going forward. I'm going to make something happen. And that's what you want as a coach. That's what you want when things are going south like that. Take it out of our hands, right? You've heard us say that 100 times on this show. Take it out of our hands. Try and make something happen. It's looking like you're going to lose that point. Okay, maybe not. Maybe if you do something, chaotic, something incredible, something spontaneous. Who knows? You catch somebody napping, and boom. Now you've turned a 3-on-2 into a 2-on-1. Or a 2-on-2, and you're in position. You're on their side of the field, and now they've got to deal with you, and their guns turn to you, allowing your other player like J-Rab to go to work. So lots can happen.
Yeah, and again, I think the Impact's kind of mentality was, we're going to let. We talked about this a little bit in the green room. We're going to let Malloy get up into the 50 snake. We're going to go trade with him. We're just going to take care of Karslev. We want to keep getting him off the field, right?
I think you're right. You look at this, if you watch this match, it's as if they said, okay, we're conceding Malloy the snake. We're going to concede him the snake. We know he's going to be there. We're going to have containment on it. We're just going to treat it like it's always there and it's always present. But we're going to key up on this shot because we have 3 great shots on this. Cool play call by Impact here, by the way, right? Only their second time going to snake corner on the break with the broken arrow run to Dorito 3. Holmes pumping that gap as Malloy dives through, and Kirill goes through gun up right behind him, which he gets the penalty. But at the same time, Impact loses their D-side can, making it a 3-on-3. And then, I don't know. I like how Karslev starts to play this, right? Like, okay, so there's the trade.
And that's what I was talking about earlier, right? They gave him an opportunity, go in, check it out, get off the field.
Right. I like that.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-on-1 here. If this plays out the way I remember it, because like I said, I haven't got to watch a lot of it, but I like the way Karslev starts to play this. Again, going forward, being crafty, being sneaky, not giving too much away. I don't feel like Impact knows the count per se, and which was a common factor out here. I don't know if that's attributed to the way the field layout was working or because we had the additional space, what have you. But I like how he gets up here.
I'm telling you, it was those 2 big bricks that over there on that snake side made it really difficult.
Yeah. Now this is where I agree with the towel. The minute he does this, okay. Yeah. I would have toweled as Will the minute I saw him get on his stomach and start going backwards. Yeah, I really would have. So a 1.5 point with 2:57 left on the clock. Impact up by 2 now over Legion, 4-2. A lot of time on this field though, right? 2:57, 3 minutes. When you think about it, each point's gotten faster and faster. We're averaging, you throw that 3 minute out, you're probably looking at a 1.5 minutes, right? 1:20 on an average. So plenty of time left for them to make some things happen.
This is also where I felt like maybe Impact kind of came off the gas a little. Like they kind of they got that 2-point lead, that they're really comfortable with. that them and Damage do so well, and you guys too do very well. You get a couple of points up, and then you kind of get in. And again, it's not defensive; it's just more safety, right? Like we're going to get into the spots we know we have to be in, and we're going to have these spots covered, right? We're going to try to kill a guy off the break, and then we're going to slowly strangle you. And I felt
risk
like
management,
and you can't do that with them.
Strangleton.
You can't do that with the Legion, right? Because there is again, you and I talked about this before the show kind of started. Like you can pick a few key spots that you want to try to keep people out of, but with the way the layouts are now, you're always giving up something. There is a space on the field that you're giving up, and it's not because anybody's making a mistake. It's just that's the way the layouts are. The bunkers are so close together. Everything is so fast. You can't protect all the spots. So like now being the aggressor, being the one who's setting the tempo, being the team that has more of a when things don't maybe go our way, just get busy. Just go get busy and see what happens. Because these guys are so good, you may get away with a lot.
And I think you make an excellent point there, right? You're going to miss something. And in this case, you and I both agreed that it felt like Impact was saying, okay, we're really going to key up on this Dorito side. We're going to try and contain and concede up until that 50 snake, but we're going to stop them right there. If you can't wrap, big deal. Right. If you can play the inside of it, fine. You've conceded me to Dorito 3, but long story short, that was the goal. And that's where it comes back and bites them, in my opinion, on this point, right? The execution between Malloy and Rabikoff they basically decide, this is where we're going and this is what we're doing, right? Based off what Impact has shown them.
And they did it in the finals match. This was just a great play call.
Yep.
Yeah, and they do this in the finals match too. They just rumble down that side a few times in the finals match, which again, this Saturday, midnight, if you're in the Central Time Zone, 10 o'clock if you're in Cali, 1 a.m. If you are in Florida, if you're on the East Coast, ESPN, make sure you get on ESPN2, set your DVRs if you're going to be Baba Night. But
Ocho, ESPN Ocho. It's the Ocho. I don't believe it's ESPN.
That's the name of the show. So it's on ESPN2. It's called The Ocho. Yeah.
Right.
Which is just no sweat. It's just a silly show, and it's not silly. It's just a show that they put emerging sports on. So that's where it is.
That's 11 p.m. Mountain, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, let's let this bad boy go. And see, it's that inside shot there, and then Malloy and this goes back to, again, what I love about Rabikoff. He does not let that tandem line with his one get too long, and this is a great example of what you're about to see here. They trade with Malloy here coming up in just a moment. It's about to happen. But they have no idea that J-Rab is right there to take the spot. And he gets a 2-for-1 right here. Look at this follow-up. In a war of attrition, I'll take that every time. Right?
Same.
This point is so chaotic. So it comes down to this. It ends up in a 2-on-2 though, right? Because we didn't have that overhead shot. We don't know what necessarily is going on. It ends up coming down to a 1-on-1 though between Kirill and, is it Panlilo? How do you pronounce that young man's name? Because I don't want to butcher it.
Panilio.
Thank you.
Tyler Panilio.
Thank you. He obviously, you can tell he doesn't know the count. I don't blame him. We've talked about it over and over again. Otherwise, he would have just put that Dorito between him and Kirill and just shot paint at the box. Right?
And just nonstop, right? Like my notes on this point literally just say, the Russian Legion nonstop aggression wins this point. Like just you called it exactly right. Malloy gets shot, J-Rab's right there to fill the space, right? And take advantage of a little chaos. It was just nonstop, right? And again, the Russian, and it's not just the Red Legion as a whole, Kirill and the way his mindset works and we had him on the show. If you haven't watched that one, you need to go back and watch it because there's a lot of gold in it. And he talks a lot about sport and the guys being legitimate athletes, and to him, that's what makes it a sport. Is that aggression and the nonstop kind of pushing and pressure and pressure and pressure. And the way the layouts are now, I mean,
yeah, it's almost like an air raid offense in football, in college football.
Totally.
Let's be kinetic.
Yeah.
Let's be aggressive. Let's go big, let's just keep going big, because statistically speaking, we're going to hit eventually. So
that is a great correlation. I'm so glad you said that, man. That's a great correlation, because it is we're going to take 2 big shots. This is football, right? We're going to take 2 big shots every 4. We're going to run the ball and get 8. Right. So we're going to run the ball at 8, get 8. We're going to take 2 big shots. We're going to run the ball and get 2, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But it really is that, like, they know if we can get you to play us 9 to 13 points, we're going to win this many of those. Right.
That's right.
We're willing to throw away, and it's not throwing away. It's just the other team, your offense and their offense off the break weren't sinking. Yours didn't work with theirs, right? And they just work the math and work the numbers and go, yep, we're coming at you. And if you can stop us, great, right? But they're just not – that's just their mentality. And I kind of love it, right? I kind of love it. Again, I think I
kind of hate it too, though.
Sure, yeah. It's
because it gives me fits.
Well, but it also – I don't like that it's less of a team sport that way. Right. It's more 5 individuals kind of getting out there and having, and J-Rab is so good at this. Not just paintball, but he's so good at understanding how to take advantage of chaos, right? Like, this couldn't be a more perfect fit for him. Like, being in this group, with all the practice time he's getting with them, his gun skills, I don't think have ever been as good as they are right now. I mean, his first shot's ridiculous. So, this is the perfect space for him. And I believe that we're seeing, and you and I've talked about this last couple of weeks, there's this return to that sort of bloody knuckles style of play.
Yes.
Right. Sort of, we're going to get a little more in your face. Things are going to get a little more chaotic off the break. There's going to be a little more risk. There's going to be a lot more choreography. What I don't love is that it kind of pulls away, again, some of that team aspect. It pulls away some of we're going to communicate and put things together in a meaningful way. But the reality is that's where we are, right? That's just what's happening. So
that's a great point. When we played the Russians at this event, we tried to fight fire with fire. Right. And the difference being, and we were killing each other off the break. I mean, and it was almost at the first 5 points, it was like 3-on-3 every point. The difference being the Russians didn't care that it was, they didn't care. They were going forward, and my guys are so ingrained to check in, know the situation, right? And use data to defeat our opponents. We had no time, and that was the big difference maker.
Right. And so I do think that is part of part of their experience, right? Like, they're so experienced, those guys have been doing it together for a really long time. They're so experienced together that there really isn't this check-in needed, right? They just kind of look at each other and they go do stuff.
I know really quick. I think that's also part of their strength. One thing the Hurricanes try to do, a lot of my guys will ask, hey, what are this is the play. I want to be reminded of what your role is on this play, because I want to know what you're doing. And I think what's happening is the Legion, when they look at, they know what that guy's supposed to be doing. They trust him to do it so much that they never even have to look again, and they just go do their thing. Now, I'm making an assumption. I might be completely wrong, but it almost looks that way. Right. We talk about the choreographer. We talk about, but they quite literally say, hey, if he's doing his job, then I should be able to succeed doing mine. Oh, I got shot. Maybe I didn't do mine right, or maybe he didn't complete his job, or he does it and he completes his job. He succeeds and he realizes that his guy had done his job. But anyway, impact is, that was a 1 minute point, by the way. And now it's a one point spread. Impact up 4-3 with 1:44 left on the clock. Now, you talked about Impact coming off the gas. I feel like Impact, this is what do you feel about this play call? I feel this wasn't, obviously if they've got what is it? What was left? What did I say was left on the clock? 1:44.
Yeah, and so this is where, like, when I say they came off, if you have guys on the edges, this doesn't happen to you, right? Like, you've got guns through the middle of the field, and this is where I felt like they kind of came away from, getting guys out and inside, right? They sort of went back to their earlier play calls where they're really heavy gun off the break, and they leave this zone completely open by not having anybody outside. Now, keep in mind, they had kind of done this in the point before, and I'm sure, the Red Legion coach was like, yeah, we can do this. Or Kirill even was like, hey, I'm getting nothing through the middle of the field. Maybe this is the time we should pull this out, right? And again, down a point, right? Like, most coaches in this are thinking, hey, we're down a point. We got a minute. This field, the party on this field is on the edges. Let's get to the edges, go win the game. I love this play call from Red Legion.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I think this was not what I would call a rope-a-dope, but in a way it almost becomes one, because like you said, get to the wires. Let's work down the access points, right? Because I think most teams realized early on that the center wasn't necessarily a safe access point. Everyone can shoot you through here. Now, you could get crafty or sneaky mid-game, but not early. And I think the beauty of this play call is exactly what you stated. It's like, hey, Impact's expecting them to use the snake. They're expecting them to go big Dorito way, and they just coast through the center. You also mentioned earlier Rabikov's, snap, his shot's on right now. You get to see it in this match.
It's dirty.
It's dirty. So here we go.
Now, you'll see what I'm talking about right here. So the guns, you've got one gun on the inside of the can here. You've got one gun on the Dorito. You've got another gun on the Dorito. His gun is outside. There's nothing in the middle of the field here. Mm-hmm. And still nothing through the middle of the field.
Right. Now watch the inside move. There it is. Standard move to that wedge. Usually it's on the inside, not the outside. I like how he went outside to take that gap away from Impact. About Rabikov right here, just Kirill right here.
Yep. And I think this is when he probably goes back and tells coach, hey, I think we can do this way.
Yep.
Setting it up for the next play.
I agree. 42nd point. Wow. I wish I could break this point down better, but the camera angles. Again, we got to see Rabikov's 6-shot.
I just wish we had,
I can't see what's happening behind the Impact Snake player, but I feel like you have to joystick his gun right here. He should be inside protecting the center, and you protect the outside of that 50 Snake brick so that J-Rab can't do what he was doing. But we can't see what's happening. So, it's easy for me to sit there and critique, but so boom, they feed the snake right there. I don't know if the home player ends up getting wide or not. Maybe not.
And it's 3-on-4.
My guess is no.
It's Russian Legion. It's Red Legion 3-on-4 Impact.
And that's why I feel like, and look, so Rabikov's just playing loose. And there was an Impact player coming off there. You see him from that last camera's angle. And once you see Kirill launch, it's because obviously something's happening in the back where I think Impact players are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
So
good off the break.
Yep.
And there's just no one as good as them in space with their guns. No one. I mean, they're just running around. Yeah, all shooting and shooting guys on the run. I mean, they're just so good.
Well, and they drill that a lot. The fundamentals are just such a staple in that camp. So, all right, the final point.
48-57. Sorry, guys. I'm not leaving that up there while I'm fumbling around trying to find all the timestamps. Mr. Hoskins, he played
that was
well.
a great match, by the way. That Dynasty Aftershock match was a great match as well. All right, here we go. The final point. You know, I felt like Legion.
This is what I was talking
Here
about.
it is. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
So let's back this one up just a little bit, because I think, to your point, I think Kirill recognizes the fact that, hey, they weren't protecting this at all. I'm going to get Malloy out into his standard spot. I'm going to filter J-Rab out behind him in case things go south. Karslev makes his standard Dorito 1. He could be there anytime he wanted, right? Sergey into the can. And this is a beautiful read by Kirill here. He checks off Dorito way before he does anything. So once he saw the Dorito die, he didn't hesitate. Boom. I mean, he did not hesitate. He knew exactly his line.
And he gets a penalty.
Yeah, so I think it was Kirill who picked him up on the shot.
Yeah. Great call.
Just incredible execution of a goal. You could, this is what I talk about a lot when I do clinics and when I talk to my guys. Let's understand the goal. Let's have a goal. I've said this, I don't know how many times, is that the breakout is not the play, right? The breakout is the transportation system to the goal of the play. That's all it is. So
yeah, your play has to have intention, right?
Right.
It has to mean something. Like we're not just gonna. I do the same thing. I ask guys in clinics, depending on what level they're at. I'll say, okay, where are we shooting off the break? And they'll tell me, and then I ask them why. What happens if you shoot the guy? Now what?
There it is.
Which way was his gun? And now, how are you going to capitalize on the fact that you've shot him? Are you going to play 2-on-1 with somebody? Are you going to take advantage of a side? Are you going to go through the middle? What was that guy's gun doing that you want to shoot? Are you just trying to get a body off the break? What's the point? Where are you going next?
What does his death create? What opportunity does it create? Because that's paintball, creating the opportunity. And I think in this situation, you saw a very standard breakout from the Legion, and they took one asset and said, I'm going to try this. It's either going to work or it isn't. And that was the goal. The goal was, hey, let's get into our standard position. Let's get Malloy to the 50 Viper and wrap him. Let's get Karslev out into that Dorito, see if him and Sergey can't make something happen. In the meantime, let's throw Kirill up here and just see what happens. Right? So standard, the other four were doing their standard play. The goal of this one was basically a read offense from the weakness that they've noticed on the tendency from Edmonton Epic, not protecting that center gap. So incredible approach. So well done. And then, of course, now I don't know how much time's left on the clock, but basically
it's like 30 seconds. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 28 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, once the Russians made 4 out alive, I just don't see them closing out like that, But look at impact. I mean, they are across the 50, right? Just not soon enough or fast enough. And once you're in the 50, I don't care who you are. If you only have 10 seconds and there's 4 Russians back there, and one of which is in that snake corner, and one of the others is in the Dorito looking inside, good luck. So
great match.
It was just, great match, incredible match. Well done. And hey, J.A. Alexander, hey, man. glad to hear that we can help you out and you get something out of these things. So.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's cool. Yeah, man. Like, this is kind of the stuff we enjoy doing on the show. Again, we just, I've already talked to Black Red Studios. They're going to give us overhead footage. In fact, they're going to send Mike and I like 4 different streams of stuff we're going to be able to use to break down the European things. I just need to get with Darren and see if there's a way we can just get the overhead shots so that we can better show you guys some of these things. But matches like this, you get a lot from seeing what's going on in the back from behind them, but the overhead views are just much better because then it's easier for us to just pull it up and mark right on the screen and show you what's going on. But this is a match that, in my opinion, again, if you're a middle player, you really need to pay attention to how Kirill plays this field. Really every field. Like, just study the crud out of him. He's unbelievably good. And then also, if you're a second on the snake side, Justin Rabikoff is the model right now. He's the model.
100%.
You need to do what J-Rab is doing. Like, when the guy in front of you goes to work, you be right by him. He gets shot out, you fill his space. So there's so many good things that the Russians are doing. And I know we're talking a lot about Red Legion, but I don't want to take anything away from Impact here. I opened the show with this. I think Impact was playing the field early on better than everybody else. I thought their tempo was really good. Their overall game plans were good. They had several guys step up in big moments and play well. Mikey was so good. Zupa played good. Trevor Reeser played good. Rob Velez played. I mean, they just had a barrage of guys stepping up. Tyler Panilio had some big points. Nick Laval had some big moments. So Impact looked more like what you want Impact to look like. It's right. A storied team, storied franchise that's had great success over the years. And, just coming off an event where for the first time, I think in 14 seasons, they didn't make a Sunday.
Right.
Is that right? Yeah. I think it was the first time in 14 seasons Impact didn't make a Sunday. Yeah, to come back up and show up at this last event and play the way they did. Kudos to Dave and Bart and that crew for getting it turned around. It's making the story better, right? To have teams. And we talked about this a little bit last week with Matty Marshall. The league is so tough right now that, and again, I don't want to say any team can win an event, but so many of the teams can be in those 2 to 20 spots, right? Like, we've had a different last place team at every event. And everybody's kind of, flipping around a little bit with the exception of Houston Heat and Paintball Fit. Revo is pretty consistently in the middle.
Pretty consistent.
Pretty consistently in the middle. And then, Houston Heat, 5-5-5, fifth place. And Paintball
Russian
Fit.
Legion's going to be hard to catch for a series title.
Not impossible.
Really tough to. Not impossible, but you're right. Yeah. I mean, if they continue to play the way that they're playing, and if we continue to get these layouts as we've been getting that are congratulating the teams that are playing high tempo, I just don't know that anybody can beat the Russians consistently. I'm not saying they're not going to lose here and there, because they will, because the league is really good. I will say, though, they have gone 14 matches in a row without losing. Isn't that incredible? That's just absolutely incredible.
Let me pull that
By the way,
back
Mr.
up
Kramer,
to make sure
Bobby Kramer, you said favorite layout so far this year. For me personally, this is going to surprise some people. I loved Lone Star. I felt like the Lone Star layout would have been really good for the Hurricanes. Instead, we just didn't execute like we should have. So I was a big fan of the Lone Star, and I thought the Vegas layout was cool. I liked this layout. I would have loved to have had a weekend to study it. I felt we were playing the layout well, or we knew how to play it. We just didn't execute. And once again, that's what it all boils down to, is execution. And the Russians and Impact were just executing at a high level. To your point, Ryan, I felt like Impact, when you go back and you watch their preliminary matches, their learning curve was so much steeper than everybody else on this layout. It was awesome. It was great to watch. So
well, if you think about it,
congratulations to Impact.
The last time they won a tournament was on a blind layout.
Yep. It's a valid point. Yep.
I mean, they won the Sacramento event, right? On a blind layout.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that, and I will say again, I don't care whether we get layouts or we have blinds. I like both. I will say I really liked the blind layout at the last event. I really enjoyed it. Like the process of walking it, getting it figured out, studying the matches. Like I really enjoyed the process, and I thought it made for a really entertaining event. I do also, though, like selfishly wish we would have had a weekend just because of the ESPN show. I think the product would have been a little bit different. You know, maybe it would have slowed it down. I don't know. But I did really, really enjoy it. Yeah, Mark, everybody, Mark PB says blind layouts are the best. Yeah, everybody has kind of an opinion. And again, I love paintball, so I don't care either way. Like I have a process for either one, and I enjoy both. And what will it take for Diesels and Canes to get back on the podium in Chicago?
That's easy, Bobby. I was just talking about it. Execution. It's just don't be potted plants, and when you're on a layout that requires kinetic and chaotic movement. So,
and Diesel hasn't been on a podium, so you know we're still kind of a work in progress, which it's a really painful process. Like I'm blessed because I've been through it multiple times, and it's not new to me. And it's interesting when I see other shows, we seem to be a hot topic about why we can't get it together. And the reality is, and you guys, if you've been doing this long enough, will understand this. When you get into a weird space where your expectations are so high and you're continuing to underperform, the pressures and chaos of things have a tendency to impact what's happening on the field. And so we've got some weird kind of, locker room things we've got to get straightened out. Well, I'm really confident that once those things are kind of worked out, that we'll find our groove, if you will. But really it's just, you know, fire and passion and those kind of things. Cause it's not like the guys are executing pretty well. We're playing pretty good paintball right now. I think there's some things, if you're not sick about paintball and so passionate about it that you spend a lot of your time doing it. When I say a lot of your time, at least an hour of your day probably needs to be devoted to this thing, if not more. You're probably not going to be really successful at the highest level. You know, it's just the nature of the deal. If you're not kind of sick about this thing, you're going to struggle. You're going to, especially as good as the league is now, right? Like if we're talking about when Diesel came into the league in 2019, the league was different. It's not the same league it is today. You have 20 teams that are all really good. You can lose a game at any time to anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just a different league. And so you have to get for 48 minutes-ish, which is about how long it takes to play a match. For about 48 minutes, players have to be able to put themselves into a headspace where they can clear everything away and just focus on the task in front of them, one at a time. Like if you look at a staircase, or really it's an escalator, right? In order to continue to go up the escalator, you have to kind of just go with it, right? And if you just go with what's happening right in front of you, you'll just continue to go up. As soon as you start to get involved, mentally, it's like you're going on an escalator that's going backwards, but you're trying to walk up it. And that's kind of where we are right now, is we're going up a down escalator and we're just sort of stuck in a certain space. And I think a lot of that has to do with passion. You know, you've got to be passionate about this. You have to love it. You have to work your ass off to be good at it. And we're kind of in this place where, you know, there's probably going to be some checks coming up. And when I say checks, I just mean individuals need to check themselves a little bit and think about, is this really what I want to be doing? Am I playing paintball because it's what I do, or am I doing it because it's who I am? And there's a big difference in that. If I'm doing it because it's who I am, well, then you need to start acting like it, right? If you're doing it because it's what you do, then go play semi-pro. Go play semi-pro, have some fun, right? So Hopefully nobody has to go away or any of those kind of things. But the reality is we're just kind of in this weird space. We're kind of stuck in this weird area. I do think we played really well in Atlantic City. We had a lot of external things we have zero control over that impacted our games. I really felt like we should have come out of Atlantic City 3-1, and unfortunately it didn't work out that way. But the guys in the striped shirts participated in a lot of my games. So yeah, lost by 1 point. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And that's the other thing too about playing kind of the style sort of that we were trying to play is we're going to play close games. And if you play close games, you're going to allow those guys in striped shirts sometime to have impact because they're human beings and they're going to make mistakes. And if you don't play with a tempo that you can create point gaps with teams, you're going to probably leave sometimes not very happy. So, but I appreciate you asking that. And hopefully, we've got 2 events to kind of get our shit together and hopefully we can figure it out. So
we were doing so good. We hadn't had a single curse word.
It's just shit though, right? It's not really even a curse word.
Oh, poop.
Not really even a curse word. Yeah. So anyway, pretty exciting stuff. And again, that was a semifinal match. Mike and Todd broke down the other semifinal match. Either one of those matches could have been finals matches, right? They were both going on at the same time during that. I got to watch them both several times today. Really fantastic paintball. Fantastic paintball.
Yeah. We're in the new golden era again. I love it.
Yeah, we are. So let's talk about next week really quick. We are going to have the newest is it the newest? I think he's the most recent addition, right? I don't know if he came in.
Well, yeah, he's the most
with Notorious.
It's not like he has a pedigree or anything.
Yeah, we're gonna have this guy. You guys probably don't know him. His name's Mike Hinman.
Probably never heard of him.
He's gonna come on next week, talk about his new role with the Bears. We're so excited to have Mike on the show. He's no bullshit kind of guy. I'd love kind of hearing sort of his take on things because I do. He's an incredibly successful guy. He's got 2 great tournament series, which we'll talk a little bit about while he's in here because he again gets to watch a ton of paintball, and so he's just a wealth of knowledge. Really excited to have Mike Hinman on next week. Then the following week, we're going to have Vincent from Team Scalp on. That'll be a recorded show. We will not go live on that one because it'll be 2 a.m. For him. So we're not going to do that to him. Mike and I will record that in the weekend, and then we'll put it out on the next Tuesday. And then the following Tuesday, we're going to do a full Team USA show. So we'll have all the coaches, several players, allow you guys to jump in, ask questions. So we should have a really full next few weeks. So really excited to have Mike on next week, talk about his plan with the Bears. We may even bring some film in, talk about how he's going to help. Because the Bears, if you guys have been a fan of the show and been watching, the Bears are kind of a team that we talked about in the offseason, probably having a real struggle. You take 2 programs that are kind of failing and you put them together. Rarely do you come out of that with a program that has an opportunity to do some things. And the reality is they've proven us wrong. The Bears have been pretty consistent in the middle of the pack. They've made a couple of Sundays in 3 events. Now I think with Mike Hinman, they're just going to get better. They're just going to get better. So really excited to have him on next week. Any other house cleaning?
No, other than you, me, and Kevin need to get our United States suits prepared. Matter of fact, I might wear mine during the Team USA show.
On the episode.
Right? So be prepared for me to be in full regal gear. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm so stoked about Team USA. If you guys can, please go to Team USA. Is it teamusapaintball.com? Please. The team needs your help, right? This is all self-funded. We're going over to Europe and to compete in the Nations Cup, and we're really excited, and we can use your help. I'm just ecstatic to be a part of this, and I can't wait. I can't wait to, Mike Hinman. We got then obviously Scalp, Coach Scalp. I can't wait to talk to him and pick his brain. To like Russian Legion, 2 wins in a row, and
Yeah.
then Team USA.
Vincent.
The Team USA episode is gonna be great. It's gonna be insane. We're gonna have everybody on here. It's gonna be great. So,
And I'm going to shock you guys a little bit with some stories about Vincent. He's actually came to America in Atlantic City and helped coach a team, and nobody even knew. I didn't even know he was there. So
wow.
I'll let him kind of share that story. But yeah, really, really smart guy. I'm really excited to get him on the show. And I mean, obviously his team is just killing it in Europe right now. You know, back-to-back wins, commanding lead of the series, all the good stuff. And it's been a long time since a team not called the Tauntauns, since the Americans stopped going over, not called the Tauntauns, was able to win a series over there. So it'd be interesting, be neat to have somebody else come on. I think there's also a way, if you want to support Team USA, I think there's a way you can just donate a little money if you want. But what that, just so you guys know, that money goes to the kids' teams. It doesn't go to the men's team. It doesn't go to the women's team. All of the people playing on those teams are pros. They pay their own way to go play in Paris. So they buy their own flights. They pay for their own hotel. All the guys who are going, the men, women, they all pay their own way. This is to help the kids. So it goes to the U19, U16 groups. And I do actually think this year some of that money is going to help the women because they're playing in the WNXL in Europe after the event. So, yeah, so if you can, you should certainly donate. There's also some great stuff on the website that's Team USA, not only like player gear and some pullover tops, some T-shirts. There's also some goggles that Anthony has made with JT that are, I believe, one-offs. So there's like maybe only 50 or 100. I don't know. Not a ton. So if you want any of that stuff, you should certainly jump on there and take a look. I put the website in the comments, so you can jump in there and take a look.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Coaches Show. Thank you to Go Sports for use of the video, Major League Paintball for all of the support of the show, Alex Sorensen, Kevin Fillers, and Tom Cole. If you want to elevate your game, get the best knowledge in paintball at bkipaintball.com. Use code COACHSHOW. This show is brought to you by Max Sportswear. When needed, get maxed. Again, new Coaches Show gear apparel is coming. I will actually put the T-shirt or the shirt we're going to use for Paris and Chicago coaches clinics. I'll put that out on the social media tomorrow, so you guys will be able to check that out. And that will also be available for sale on the website, hopefully in the next few weeks. Again, that's at Maxed website. We don't have one. Well, we kind of do on Major League Paintball. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible. Oh, hang on. Before I let you guys go. Well, I use that phrase, be responsible, at the end of every show. Yeah. And there's a
reason.
There's a reason I do that is because we have knuckleheads sometimes that make decisions that impact all of us. So in the last edit of the ESPN video, in the intro to the show, there's some dork, and I'm hoping that they will allow us to put his picture up, because if they'll allow us to do it, so that I can begin to use it as an example when I say be responsible, who's giving the double bird to the ESPN camera in the intro to the ESPN show. So Major League Paintball had to pay to have that show the intro re-edited because one dork decided it would be really cute to double bird one of the cameras. So hopefully they'll let us put this person's picture up really soon. And if you know this dude, please, for the love of God, give him a hard time. I told my friends at Major League Paintball that his player ID next year should be incredibly whatever it costs them to have it re-edited is how much that guy's ID card should cost, because that's totally irresponsible. Totally irresponsible.
You sure?
So
you sure you're not Sicilian? Because you sound very Sicilian right now.
I'm just like I was so disappointed, right? Like as soon as Kevin told me that, I was like, "Get out of here, man!" Like what? Yeah, you saw it, right? Like he sent that text. I was like, "What a dork!" Anyway, so please, for the love of God, be responsible. Thanks, guys.